Welcome back, FCS Fans Nation, and it is week 0, Friday night. We are here to get you ready for the slate of games on Saturday. Joining me, we have Dustin Helton, the Rev, who is in action tomorrow. Dustin, how are you?
I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch football. I'm ready to watch SFA and Jacksonville State. It's going to be a great weekend of football. Just let's go. We're here. Let's do it.
Let's freaking go. It's a pregame. What are you drinking tonight? I'm going with a little Dewards Caribbean Smooth Rust Cask Finish Scotch that
nice.
Actually isn't super good. I've been trying to finish it for weeks. So
I went with a Shiner Bock, sea salt and lime. Little Texas beer.
I haven't had the sea salt and lime, but
it's not bad. It's enjoyable. So
football season.
There you go.
Oh, no. Damn. Bic cigar lighter should have gone.
I know. I was like, do you smoke cigars? Like looks like kind of
not
rookie stuff here.
Occasionally, no. But for week 0, I do a little scotch, a little cigar. Let's go. I know we were like just ready for games to start because like nothing's been happening around the FCS the last couple weeks. But
boring.
Talk about a week 0, huh? We had so much going on. So let's start with the most recent news and work our way backwards. How about that?
Right.
You want to take on the old what happened with the A-Sun and the WAC today?
Yeah, so they came out
with WAC and WAC.
Yeah, this is the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard, and I blame the A-Sun for this because they're all about, instead of looking at records, instead of looking at that, they're all about using metrics and things like that. So for the AQ10 or AQ9 or WAC-Sun, as we like to call it, you have 2 conferences with 1 auto bid. And so what they decided to do, instead of looking at where they had the opportunity to look at common record or anything like that, they basically said that, hey, we're going to use a power ranking. And that's going to be it. So we're going to use basically somebody's opinion to decide who is the best team in conference if there's any sorts of like ties or questions. I'm like, to me, this is the worst idea. I'm looking at the guy's name because I completely blanked on it because honestly, that his name was pretty irrelevant whenever I was going through it. No offense, but as I said to Jamie, Warren Nolan, the Warren Nolan power ranking sounds like a 4th line hockey player and sounds like somebody who's really going to somehow mess this up when it comes to power rankings this year. So that's what they're doing. I don't like it. It's basically effectively doing thumb war to see who wins the conference. Like, let's go off of actual numbers. So that's what it is.
How would you have liked to seen the WAC handle it?
Here's the thing. Like, let's be honest. This year out of the WAC, there's only one team that's going to be competing for an auto qualifier, and that's SFA. Abilene Christian, they got first-year coach. They're they're not bad, but then you have Southern Utah who's terrible, and then the other teams aren't eligible. So Tarleton's not going to compete, and Utah Tech is not going to compete. So it's really SFA versus the ASUN to get the auto bid. And I think at that point there's enough games because SFA plays Jacksonville State, plays UCA. I think at that point you could have used common record with common opponents to see what happened with it. So notice that Will is saying this in chat instead of coming on the
Will will
show.
be here. Will got stuck doing doctor things, so we should have Will Siler popping in. So we'll get back to this when we have him in. Kylor might pop on tonight. We might get a Friday Night Lights appearance from Brandon Owens. We might get a Vegas appearance from Matthew Frazee, who's down there for his fantasy football draft.
I don't know. I saw his Snapchat earlier. I don't know if he's going to make it.
Yeah, probably not. But for those of you guys that are watching, it's been a while since I've done a live show, so excuse me if I'm rusty. But I forgot we got the super chat thing going on here on the right. So we'll get into the actual betting lines and stuff here a little bit later. But I do want to talk about something. A guy I haven't talked to much recently, Patrick Frerks, I believe is a freshman in college now. Congratulations, Patrick. But he's saying smash the Bengals on the money line. I just want to take this as an opportunity to talk week 0. Idaho State is traveling down to UNLV. Now, if you've listened to any of my shows the last 2 weeks, I brought up a lot of this stuff, but there's a really big podcast called the Split Zone Duo. It used to be called PAPN, Podcast Ain't Played Nobody. Bill Conley was on it, who does S&P Plus, which is like the best analytical rating. Now it's mostly FBS, but these guys do an FCS FBS upset every year. It's a guy who writes for Sports Illustrated, 2 former SB Nation guys, and then they brought in the shutdown fullcast host as well to do this draft. Idaho State got picked, not the cover, which I believe the spread is 21.5 at the moment. They got picked to win the game, I believe in the second round, 3rd pick. So call that pick, was that 7? My math is right? Yes, pick 7 in the shutdown fullcast or the Split Zone Duo FCS upset draft. I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions on this. Like, is this wild? I mean, there are some people that think the Bengals are a good bet here. Me on the money line, I think probably not. But
I don't think I'd take them on the money line. No, I mean, I think they'll cover the spread.
I'm going to figure out what that payout is, though, because that might make it worth it on its own.
I know, right? I don't know. I mean, they're good. UNLV is not good. It's not good, right? UNLV is awful.
Well, because they talked about this. They're like, when it comes out, there's 2 ways you can sort the old spreadsheet. One is search the FCS teams, find your NDSUs, your SDSUs, your Montanas teams, Easterns teams that will and have beaten FBS teams. And then there's the other way. You sort from FBS and you find yourself your UNLVs and such that are primed to be upset. Your Arizonas.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at potential upsets in week 0 and week 1, I mean, it's not UNLV. I think Idaho State will cover the points, the spread. I don't think they'll win, but they're not that good of a team. And I mean, UNLV is that bad, but I don't think Idaho State's that good enough to do it. I think, if you're betting on other upsets to take, there's plenty of other ones that you could hit over the next few weeks with FCS versus FBS matches, but that's just not one that screams sexy to me, and I'm all about sexiness, so I don't know if that's gonna hit or not.
So I did look when I posted the spread this morning. It was 21.5. It has dropped a full point in Idaho State's favor.
Wow.
The payout is $7.50. So if you put $10 on it, you're walking away with $73.
Yeah.
I might take that kind of risk.
I would take that. I would take that risk, I think, for that. Yeah.
Why not? Like UNLV, let's put it this way. Eastern was a lot better than Idaho State. Last year's Eastern team is a lot better than this year's UNLV or Idaho State team.
Yeah.
Eastern played like they were trying to let UNLV win. Like UNLV said, there's a clause, we're not paying you if you beat us. And UNLV or Eastern seriously considered taking them up on that clause. Anybody that remembers, they like literally were trying to give the game away to UNLV. UNLV was playing terribly, and Eastern might have played their worst game in a decade, and they still came out of that game with a win. So a couple people have been like, well, they barely only lost to Eastern last year. I'm like, yeah, but like that's not a level playing field. That's not Eastern should have beat them by 28 points last year.
That's your explanation of the spread right there. That's it. Just UNLV sucks. So
my cigar's out. That's probably for the better anyways. Let's move on and actually focus on the show. So next up on the old what the heck has happened here in week 0. Do we want to talk about Jacksonville State? Let's talk about Florida A&M.
Let's talk about FAMU first.
FAMU,
that story
for those of you that are unaware,
me.
Another awesome game that I just earlier this morning said I'm taking FAMU. I think it was like 36.5 points that I got them at. UNC, I was like, you know what, they're a little bit down. Or not down, but they're probably going to have a down year. They're missing Sam Howell, their quarterback who went to the NFL. I was like, FAMU ended the year really strong, making the playoffs. I'd like to find an FCS team I really like this week. 36 is a lot of points, especially if garbage time happens.
Yeah. And
then we find out almost ain't nobody getting on that bus. And I have now tripled down my money the other way on UNC because I'm not winning that FAMU bet.
No, they have 20 players that they're missing because of things with ineligibility and things like that. It's not necessarily grades per se. It's stuff with the transfer portal and things like that. But they're missing 20 players. They're only taking 7 offensive linemen to play in that game. Like you're set. Here's the thing to me. Like I get there's a payout. The payout's $450,000. I imagine that's already been spent, and this is why they're going to play. Coach said he's left it up to the players to decide. Players will play, but they got Jackson State upcoming. Like you're against UNC, you're setting yourself up for like injury like crazy. You got 7 linemen. You need to worry about your quarterback. You need to worry about your key players, and you're putting them at risk for a game that you're not going to.
Everybody, it was tobacco only. Also, definitely an Idaho smoker here. It's still federally illegal, y'all. These are just regular old cigars. Anyways.
Anyway, so the amount of risk that you're putting your team at, I guess to the point he did say that the team decided, which could be true, or it could be, saying, hey, I really want to do this, but said the team won't. To me, it screams out more concern about Florida A&M and, their funding or lack of funding to have the proper folks within their administration to help work through these problems. That's not necessarily a sports thing. That's an academics. That's an institution thing. And they're all part of they're part of the same system as Florida State and University of Florida. So, hopefully we don't see any injuries. Hopefully they make it through. They get all that stuff resolved. They're able to get players back out on the field for the rest of the year. But if I'm Jackson State, Christmas came a little early this year because FAMU was their one competition in SWAC East. And if they're short 20 players, that just basically helps seal the deal for Jackson State.
Yeah. It just sucks. You smashed it, right? Like, you've got to play this game because FAMU, though I know the HBCUs operate slightly different than the rest of the FBS or FCS, the fact that they do have significant institutional support, alumni support, and fan support. So this might not hurt them as much as it would like an Austin Peay, but that's a huge paycheck that basically is paying for all of their Olympic sports. That's where it's like worrisome. It's like, yeah, the football team will be fine. Alumni will show up. They'll fill the stadium. They'll be fine down there in Tallahassee. Like, everything will work out. The issue is what happens when your women's volleyball team or women's golf team in the spring has to travel to Colorado State. Like, that's what this money is for. So it's wild that in this day and age this can even happen. Like, I would say, like, there needs to be a slight investigation into, like, how Florida A&M didn't find out or didn't announce that it was going to have, like, 19 players ineligible week 1. Yeah. Like, the school season just started. Like, you get it if it's the playoffs, and it's like, or it's like Frisco, and that's second semester and the first semester grades come in, and they're like, no, you failed first semester. You can't play a game second semester, right? But this isn't that. This is these guys' grades from the spring last year. Unless they had, I'm assuming they probably did have summer school classes they were supposed to be taking, probably because they were ineligible because of the spring.
I don't think
and
it's
then
all
didn't do that.
I don't think it was all grades. Part of it was grades, but part of it, I think too, that you have transfers coming in. I think it was actually just getting them enrolled and having to be eligible to play. I think they were lagging on that, and that's very problematic.
Yeah, but man, that is just wild to me that that can even happen in this day and age. Yeah. That we can have a Division I program not know how many players it has eligible until 48 hours before its first game. Right?
It's insane.
Unexcusable, honestly.
And I was going to take FAMU.
In my opinion, I mean, I don't want FAMU to struggle right all year and for their Olympic sports, but that administration or athletic department, whoever, really let down a lot of lower level non-revenue generating sports.
Yeah.
Because now the football team is going to have to go get worked.
Yeah.
More than they already were, just to support those other. And it's just, and how's this? So some of it you said is getting them registered. How does this resolve itself by week 1, week 2, how long until they get these players ready?
I don't know. That's the thing. And I was listening to a Twitter, whatever his audio thing, I can't remember what it's called now. And a lot of the folks that are HBCUs were talking about how do they get them through and stuff. And it's nuts. Like I said, it's super nuts to imagine that this happening, and just hopefully they get their stuff together. You want to see them capitalize on the success they had last year. And let's hope too that nobody at all gets injured. Saturday. Hopefully I think that's the real biggest concern too. Because if you've got 7 linemen, if you have anything about injury, you're going to have someone who plays tight end, or you're going to have someone who plays defensive end coming in and trying to block and try to protect your quarterback. And that just seems like it's the absolute sort of setup for disaster. So, let's just hopefully they make it through without any sort of issue.
Yeah. Speaking of making it through without any sort of issues, Spice, do you have any information? Are you the one out there with the camera, Mr. Helton? Mr. Helton, where were you? August the 23rd at around 3 p.m. Is the answer Huntsville, Alabama? Be honest with me.
Well, Huntsville would be where.
Be honest with me.
Here's my thing with it. And let's put aside that I'm an SFA alum. Let's put that aside for a second. If I've ever accused anybody of something, I come with receipts. I come with proof, right? It's just this is just story and hearsay. And I mean, what benefit? Let's say for some reason somebody was there and they filmed for 10 minutes. They're not going to get benefit out of practice. You're going to see them run maybe one play 10 times, right? There's not much there. To me, it seems like Rich Rod is distracting from the other issue that's happening in Jacksonville right now with their punter. And this is also another one of those things, to me, it's one of those weird motivational things to try to fire up his team that never works. Hey, guys, they were spying on us. We should go after them. No, that's never worked anytime anybody's ever tried to do it. So I got 2 things. I'm interested to see what Colby Carthel does at the handshake at the end of the game, because Colby Carthel has not said anything about this, and he has not really said anything ill towards Jacksonville State during any of the pressers. But no, I want to see that, and then I kind of want to see, if we win, Colby Carthel go off in the post game presser about this. So
yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. We'll welcome in Will first. For those of you that, everybody's watching. This isn't an audio podcast. Will Siler, everybody, coming to you from the Stripes. Although you're not, you're in Fayetteville now, yeah?
No, I'm actually in Little Rock.
Little Rock.
Okay. The Medicine campus is in Little Rock.
Okay.
So,
but welcome to the first Friday night FCS pregame. As you can tell, we're talking. We'll get your opinions on the first 2 subjects, but we're going to wrap up this one.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on the espionage down in Huntsville?
I'm not the biggest fan of Rich Rod. I think he's probably, like Rev said, trying to fire up his team. Sorry, my dog's in here.
That's all right.
Jumping
Pod
the door.
dogs.
No, I think it's more of a motivation tactic. He didn't seem like super impressed with his team when camp started, and so I figure it's more of a motivation thing. So I think he's probably a little bit nervous for the game. So we'll see.
I think your puppy agrees.
Yeah, he's not a
That's
big
what
Rich
he
Rod. He's not a big Rich Rod dude either.
So let me touch on what you have up on the screen real quick. So here's the thing about Jack Dawson. Yes, that was at Troy. However, the behavior that with allegations, that violates JSU's code of conduct as well as Troy's code of conduct. Now, granted, there is a trial. He was arrested. There was summons. He was arrested. He bailed out. There's bonded out. There's a trial. The thing that the program should do is say, hey, we're not going to play him until this comes out. But Rich Rod basically said, no, we're going to. Maybe it's because he's afraid he's going to punt all game. I don't know. But that's what it is. It is about the culture of Troy. But also, too, like I said, it violates the Jacksonville State Code of Conduct. And also, too, this by allowing him to play perpetuates the gross stereotype that this is allowed in sports and in college football. And it shouldn't be. It's not. This isn't. So I don't want to go off on a rev rant, as Jamie Williams would call it, but I just wanted to address that because I appreciate where the comment's coming from, but that comment's not entirely accurate as well.
So I'm gonna be a little bit of the devil's advocate here, and let me just go about. God, this is a dangerous circle to try to walk because I'll probably mess up my point, and that could be very dangerous. Society as a whole, I think, has moved towards this you're guilty until proven innocent stance. I think we remember you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, seems pretty this is going to come out that he's guilty. I agree that Jacksonville State should take a stance on this as well. I also agree with TND that this is a Troy problem. Everything happened at Troy. And I know there is the whole argument you should do your due diligence on the players that you are signing. However, it's a punter. Punters are people too. I get it. But I'm pretty sure oh, you have a leg and kick a ball? Sure. It's not a starting quarterback. It's not a star wide receiver, unfortunately. I agree with you. I think there should be maybe, if I was Jacksonville State, I would probably say, hey, look, until everything happens, yeah. Honestly, if you're that guy, do you even want to be a part of that team? I've never been in a locker room. Maybe Will can speak more to this. I'm sure there's going to be some weird animosity in the locker room when they see this guy again. They're probably dude, some of them are probably really, should be really pissed. But I would just say until the legal system does its due diligence, I'm not saying that everything was faked, right? I believe what's happening, but I also get where you got to have his back until he's actually proven guilty in a court of law. If he is, then that guy probably is. But I would just say to that defense, you got to give Jacksonville some flack here. They can't just go out and then if this does turn out that this was all a Monte Teo hoax deal, whatever, then it looks really bad on them that they just basically exiled this guy, right? I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to be in administration because I don't think there is I don't want to have to handle this. This is not fun to deal with. That's what it is. It's not a fun scenario. And if it's true, then
Look,
honestly, that guy should rot in prison, to be honest with you. But that's my opinion, and I won't go too much more into that. But that's what I would just say is let's remember that you're innocent until proven guilty. And if he's guilty, then I think we all agree, big F you to that guy.
Here's my problem with it. So, it can't usually when something comes out a legal issue player, a coach is hey, let's take a step back, let you at least while the legal system kind of runs its course, you step away for a little bit. We don't need, a whole lot of distraction. I think it's wrong that he's getting to play when he's, he just turned himself in on Monday. And so if I'm Rich Rod, I'm at least gonna, put a pause on his playing time for at least a few weeks, or even if it's just
until
a week
there's more information out.
Yeah, but the dude turned himself in Monday, and he's gonna play a game tomorrow.
I'd hate to be that guy. I mean, can you imagine?
Oh,
I'm assuming there are. Well, we know some. There are going to be some Jacksonville State people that he's going to get some good old Deshaun Watson treatment. Like, you're a sick F, and rightfully so, just like Deshaun Watson. Like, he screwed up. Kylor, welcome to the show. What are your takes on this?
How you doing?
Nice hat.
Hey,
One time, no tag.
Had to do it for you since I've been trolling you a little bit today. Well, I couldn't let you guys have fun without me. I just got done eating dinner, so figured I'd jump on for a few minutes. My whole thing about this situation is, holy crap, it's a bad look. And it's a bad look to let this kid play. Again, totally understand the innocent until proven guilty verdict, but for an example, Eastern Washington had a player get in a fight with his own brother right before the national title game. Our coach said, "You're not playing in the national title game." And he was our best defensive player, right? Getting in a fight with your brother is nothing like the allegations that's going on with this situation. So, yeah, it is a horrible look. And really, JSU should be on top of it and say, no, you should not be playing. It's a bad look.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that. I mean, innocent until proven guilty is the absolute right thing. But I mean, like I said, it's just this is bad press to have during week 0 for a team, and that's a weird way to say it. But Rich Rod doubled down on it, basically, and that is what Rich Rod does best, is stupid crap like this. That's why he's been investigated by the NCAA just about every stop he's had. Like this is true Rich Rod sort of thing, and I gotta wonder if the schoolgirl giddiness we saw from Jacksonville State about getting Rich Rod is starting to wear off a little bit now that he's kind of come in and you're seeing the way he's handling some of these things and some of the other stuff he's coming through. Like, I don't know if he was our coach, like he was an SFA coach, man, I would be like, I couldn't support him, just because it's just such pedantic behavior on top of everything else.
So let's talk about that. I got roasted on my Football Chris show by Jacksonville State fans for ranking Rich Rod as the 5th best hire. And now I have a couple people like, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe. My whole point being was he's like literally none in FCS experience. But then, like, there is this stuff. Yes, he hasn't been a loser everywhere he's gone. I do think he brings a cachet to Jacksonville State that they could use moving to the FBS, which is why I still put him at 5. It kind of just reminds me of like when I did the whole poll thing last year, and the North Dakota people, who are really wrong, I really danced on their graves, and the South Dakota State people were laughing at me when I rated South Dakota State 5th last year. And they ended the season, 5th or 6th? It was like, it ended up being spot on. I'm just like, guys, like, at the end of the day, you're arguing about being a top 5 team. Like, if anything, North Dakota State, I think, is the only fan base that deserves, if you're not ranked 1 or 2, they can probably bitch and be like, what the hell? Everybody else, I'm like, I'm top 5. Who cares? That's right where I want to be. I'm in a playoff seating. The rest of it's up to me. So, I don't know. It just reminded me of that, where, like, people were complaining about being in the upper percentage or something. But anyways, before we get into more topics, we have had 2 guests come on. It is a pregame. Kylor, Will, what are you guys drinking tonight for the pregame?
Well, I saw Dustin drinking his little salt and lime shiner. So, I'm doing a similar thing, but with a real beer, Dos Equis, because, screw Texas beer.
We didn't kick you out of the state yet?
I'm here, baby. No, I'm a Dos Equis guy. So same exact thing, lime and salt, because when it's hot out, it's delicious to have a lime and salt beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I was out of Dos Equis, so that's all I have for lime and salt.
I'm non-alcoholic tonight, so drinking a little Fresca sparkling water behind the camera here.
Oh, duels.
So, getting ready for the BYU game tomorrow? I just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
You two, I know you guys were both kind of listening. Did either of you have any takes from the first 2 subjects we touched on? 3, I guess. The espionage for Kylor, and then obviously everything else that's happened at FAMU. And
no, I mean, Will, you can go, little buddy.
Wait, okay. So when I got on, y'all were talking about the espionage, but before that, when you're talking about the ASUN thing, the ASUN whack deal. So, I know everybody's like, that's a horrible way to do it. We're using a computer. It's what the BCS did that. Now, granted, I guess, you could say the BCS failed, but there were years that it did fine. The only problem I have with it, I like Warren Nolan. Back during baseball season, that's what I used. The RPI updates literally real time. Like, game's over, you can see where that puts you. There's a tool on there. You can see if so-and-so beats so-and-so, it's going to move my RPI up, 10 spots, what have you. So I'm not the biggest hater of it because I like Warren Nolan. The only thing I don't like is using computers for football because the sample size for games is so small. You play baseball and there's 65 something games. That's enough of a sample size that if you're playing, 4 games a week, well, you got plenty of opportunity. But if, say, I don't know, SFA loses to Jacksonville State this week, but then at the end of the year, they have a big win. I don't know who's on the last part of your schedule. That could throw you up, in the RPI up top 5, top 10 after one, big win. And so I think there's a chance for an outlier game with that, but I don't hate it because I think the computer, their computer algorithm or their equation, whatever they use, is actually pretty good. And it updates real time so teams can see, hey, if we do this and this team does that, this is where we'll be. So I don't hate it.
So you don't hate it, but do you want to talk about the ASUN baseball season this year? And the tournament went down with seeding?
Okay, yes, but here's the problem too. With ASUN and baseball, that was more of a it was the bottom of the league that they were using RPI to we're talking instead of the top 4 teams from each division, it was we're going to take the top 3 and the 2 highest RPI, which it didn't matter at that point because those next 2 RPIs were still both plus or, over 150. And so I don't think picking a champion, I think, is a little bit using RPI to pick an automatic qualifying champion of your league makes more sense than, picking your 7th and 8th teams to make your baseball tournament because those 2 teams probably don't matter anyway. You see what I'm saying? I think it's not as bad to use it for picking a champion as it is to use for deciding that, one division's getting 5 teams into your conference baseball tournament and one division's getting 3. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
So I'd like clarification. TND kind of brought this up. What if JSU or Sam Houston State wins the bid? How does that? Is it just the next closest?
Address that. So. I would assume so, though. Yeah, I would assume that they're gonna, if they're using this power ranking, they're gonna take the next closest person. So,
which isn't, this brings up a good point. Why is Jacksonville State eligible for the ASUN championship?
Because your commissioner is a pushover. That's why.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
He wants to make sure all the athletes who are playing this year have the true experience and get all the opportunities, even though that,
even though they won and done them.
Even though that they're for football, they're playing with a couple extra aces up their sleeve in terms of scholarships versus everybody else, but they still want to make sure everybody has fun.
That if they weren't eligible, but they, for some reason went undefeated, they would still buy rings and still claim a championship, even if the ASUN didn't put it in the record book.
Oh, yeah.
And how many of those kids are going to go back and look at the ASUN record book in 20 years and be like, oh, heck yeah, man, I won the ASUN conference title back in 2022. So
they put a banner up at the stadium for that.
Yeah.
They absolutely would.
But
so,
anyway.
I saw a poll or a question in the chat box earlier talking about Lindenwood and how we thought Lindenwood would do year 1. Curious if anybody has any thoughts on Lindenwood. I know I do. I think Kylor does. I'm assuming Dustin. We all probably do.
I would pick them over Houston Baptist opening week. That's
all
not
right,
a joke.
We'll run through their schedule real quick, real fun. If anybody, we're going to run for an hour, so if anybody, I guess, really wants it, ask some questions away. Use the comment section. Houston Baptist.
Win.
You think Lindenwood can get a win there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when Houston Baptist is
at the QFC.
So bad.
Okay, they should be Kaiser, right?
Yeah.
Lose to UT Martin.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so they're 2-1. SEMO, I'll give them a loss at SEMO.
Yeah, I would too.
We all agree they're going to beat Central Arkansas.
Yeah, because Central Arkansas is going to find a way to lose that game.
Very easy to play on the straps, as Will says.
At Eastern Illinois, I'm not too familiar with where they're going to be this year. Is Eastern Illinois supposed to be rebounding, or are they still supposed to be?
No, they're not. They're going to be bad. I think they could win that one.
Yeah, ever since Jimmy left, trash.
So, Murray State?
50-50 game?
Yeah, I was going to say toss-up. That's a pick 'em.
It's in St. Charles.
So they could actually, you guys think they could do pretty good. They could win 4 or 5 games the first year.
I think for like the transitioning.
They'll beat William Jewell and McKendree, we would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually think Lindenwood had, for like D2 to D1 transitions from recent years, even including like North Alabama, I actually think Lindenwood's the most promising. Maybe even Tarleton State, but I don't really consider them FCS because they're probably going to be gone soon. So it is what it is. But like Missouri, great recruiting bed. I think Lindenwood's actually going to do extremely well. They're going to struggle the first 3 years like any D2 program really does, right? But the OVC, it's not as strong as it used to be. So they have a chance within the next few years to really leave their mark on the OVC, and maybe they're just going to pull a JSU and become the next JSU. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah.
They kind of remind me of a team that Will has near and dear to his heart, is when UCA came in 2008 and came into D1 and completely obliterated the Southland. And a lot of folks are surprised by that, but they had such success at D2, and Lindenwood's kind of in the same boat. So it wouldn't surprise me if they don't struggle as much as other D1 or D2 to D1 transitional teams that we've seen in recent years.
Lindenwood, I don't know if you've like kept up with their facilities or not. They just unveiled like a new locker room and football facility that's like top notch. Talk about like investment in a program. That place, they love. Now it's a small fan base, but they love Lindenwood football. My freshman roommate at UCA was also a long snapper, and he transferred to Lindenwood. He was from St. Charles, and so he snapped there for 4 years. And dude, they love Lion football there, and they're putting some new, really nice facilities in. They've got a heck of a coach, Jed Stugart. They weren't very good, honestly, like 4 or 5 years ago, but then over the last few years, they've had a lot of success. They moved conferences. They were in the MIAA with like Northwest Missouri State, and I mean it's hard to win in that league, but they are in or I guess obviously now they're in OVC, but the conference they were in the last like 2 or 3 years, they really dominated it, and they had some playoff success. They went to like number 3 Ouachita back in 2019 and knocked them off, and so they've been good nationally at the D2 level. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them if the OVC stays together over the next 5-6 years. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of that time frame to see them, really competing for conference titles.
So I got a question for you guys. First recruiting call. Let's go 5 years. Let's go 5 years down the line. Tarleton, Utah Tech, Texas A&M Commerce, Lindenwood, St. Thomas. Am I missing one?
That school, Stonehill.
Stonehill. Best program 5 years from now. I think Texas A&M Commerce is.
I think A&M Commerce.
Like I was gonna say, like Lindenwood seems like a great, but like I think Commerce has, like as far as like the Central Arkansas take goes, I think they're your program that could be like the first year they're playoff eligible, they're there.
They have such a history of winning at A&M Commerce. Like it's insane.
They're kind of like NDSU. They might just take 4 or 5 years, adjust, and then just. No, I'm not saying by that. I need a caveat. I'm not saying they're going to win 9.
I'm not saying they're going to win. Yeah.
But I'm saying like when they become FCS eligible, they will be a player in the FCS.
They'll be.
It's more what I meant. I'm not saying they're going to run 9 titles out of the way.
No, they'll be perennial top 2 in the Southland every year. Like that's just what it's going to be. Like if you think about that conference, I mean, like there's teams that come up and down. It's very, very cyclical when it comes to football in that conference, with the exception when Sam Houston was in there. But if you took out Sam Houston, you'd notice that some years Southeastern Louisiana was up, some years they were down, some years McNeese was up, some years they were down. Like UCA felt it the same thing. I could see them being very steady and constantly being either the Southland AQ or at large. good enough to be an at-large out of that conference.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, then I saw Honey Badger bring in favorite off-season stories. He wants to know, Kylor, now you've been branded a Grizzly, is it affecting your life? Do you like women? That is obviously for those of you that are unaware. In Montana fans, it's where the men are men, the women are men, and the sheep run scared. I think he's referring to, do you love sheep now?
Yeah.
They are
literally
furry.
Yeah, within 30
Love
seconds after I bought what was that? Remember those old animal books as a kid? Those magazines that would come?
Like National Geographic?
No, it was like, maybe, but it was like a
Zoo books.
Zoo books.
Zoo books.
So yeah, I bought
book?
No, zoo books, what Dustin said. So yeah, I bought a sheep edition. My wife left me within minutes. Yeah, it's been a rough off season just because of this stupid charity. I hate kids. Kind of wish they would all freeze. Not gonna lie, but it is what it is.
It's been rough for you. Think about the sheep in Northwest Houston. It's been rough for them this offseason.
Hey, they look pretty though.
All right, this is a whole podcast. We have a podcast on this, so Ray to Blade, we're gonna hit your question here. We have whole episodes on this. Just look up realignment. We're gonna try to keep realignment under 6 minutes, guys. It's week 0. We gotta preview the games. We're gonna try to keep this at an hour. But Ray to Blade, did you guys talk about FCS realignment, or am I too early? You're right on time. Ray to Blade. I don't know. Let's go over. We all represent. Well, that's not true. Kind of, sort of. Kylor's from the Northwest. As I say, we all represent different kind of areas of the plains. South Texas, or of the country. We've got the plains. Then we've got, I guess, 2 Texans. But what do you guys think? How is everybody feeling in our little neck of the wood of the countries, or where our schools play in Kylor's sense, or where he lives? I'm feeling about conference realignment after the USC-UCLA news. We are at the 42-minute mark, so we will end this conversation at 59 minutes.
I think we can end it real quick because I don't think you're going to see. I think the dust is going to settle for a bit, and then we're going to go through the season.
But how long is a bit?
Through the end of the season, and then
I agree. Like no one's moving tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we're done for now, and then I think you'll see one of the next dominoes fall, whether it's more stuff out of the Pac-12 or something along that line. At some point, though, Conference USA is going to look for another 3 teams to bring up. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in, because they did have conversations with Charleston State, and they basically demurred on Charleston State for a bit, and Charleston State's in the midst of, we're going to make our stadium 24,000 seats, so it's only a third full instead of half full for games.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if I'm thinking about the 3 teams that they'll go after, I think 2 of them are Texas. I think it's SFA and Tarleton, and then I hear people say Kennesaw State, but Kennesaw State doesn't have the administrative backing.
Let's talk about that.
They don't have the administrative backing.
Jabari Jones,
yeah,
loyal follower, he has been pushing so hard for the Owls to get an FBS look.
Yeah, they don't have the administrative support to do it. And that's the thing. If you look at them versus EKU is all in on it. EKU is doing it right. Kennesaw State, they just don't have it. So I don't think they're there. If Kennesaw State were to jump, I'm going to get called a hater for this. So it's going to be the equivalent of Sam Houston jumping. Like Sam Houston was not financially ready to jump. Bauer Stadium, Kylor has been there. Will has been there. Bauer Stadium is not a great stadium. It needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of love, and they don't have the money to fix it right now. So,
Kennesaw State, like 3 months ago, was having rumors for like a 30,000 expansion to their stadium.
Yeah.
So I actually do think they do have the institutional support, the admin support. They don't have the fan base support.
Rumors, though. The difference between Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State was that when Jacksonville State announced the changes to their stadium, they already had crews out there working on it.
Yeah.
Kennesaw State's announced stuff for the past couple of years and hasn't done anything.
And this is something Kylor and I are pretty familiar with. If I ask you two right now, not Big Sky guys, let's say Mountain West Conference expands, who's the most FBS ready Big Sky team in your guys' opinion?
UC Davis.
UC Davis.
UC Davis or the Montanas.
You guys ruined the fun.
UC Davis and Montana.
It's UC Davis.
I've watched Kylor. I've taken notes.
Yeah, we all communicate too much.
He told me they could buy the rest of the conference.
UC Davis is not just announced expansion to what, Kylor? It's like 36,000, right?
No, it's 30, but they've had approval for 5 years.
That's the whole thing.
They
It's
will-
approved
they will-
and funded.
Yeah, they'll build it whenever they have a need for it.
The funding is like it's already secured funding. Like that's
Yeah.
the difference between like we have a 30. We like it. I'm not trying to throw shade at Kylor. Like Eastern Washington has a announced renovation to Roos Field, right?
Mhm.
They are trying to fund that. If
Mhm.
it happens, it will be beautiful. That's the nature of stadium renovations. UC Davis has announced, funded, and approved. They basically said, we'll pay for it. Funding is in escrow or whatever. I don't know how they're holding it. That could be totally wrong. But they have backers who have committed.
Well,
They have the money raised. They have the approval from the state government. They are ready to build this the instant they get an FBS nod.
I'm pretty sure California is a little different though. They can use state funding
Still
to
a
upgrade
little?
all their facilities.
Yeah.
So like Kennesaw, they're already a very rich, or not Kennesaw, UC Davis, they're already a very rich school. They're not getting
1.8
private.
billion in
They're not getting private
endowment.
funding to upgrade their facilities. They're getting state institution funding from what I'm aware of. I could be wrong on that, but they literally, their administrative, their board of their university has already accepted, we will build it whenever we have a need for it. So I'm pretty sure it's not like a lot of states where you can't use state support funding to, upgrade your facilities. Some states you can, some you can't. Washington, you definitely cannot. So you got to rely on a really cheap fan base where, some schools like UC Davis, they don't have to rely on that.
Yeah. UC Davis, for those that are unaware, California is a rich area for athletics, right?
Great word choice.
Academics. Yeah. UC Davis is actually the second rated public institution in the state of California behind UC Berkeley. Like USC, UCLA, or UCLA is public, correct? Yes. So they're actually ranked above UCLA in academics.
Mm-hmm.
That goes to show you, like, this is oddly, I hate Kylor does. I hate using the term sleeping giant, but this is a program that, well, no, they're going to run the same issues that like Cal has. It's like people in the Bay Area just don't give a rip about football. It's not the South. People in the South, I mean, you're living large. People out West, and some of it is there's so much more to do out here. I'm not trying to bag the South. I personally fit well in the South. I love football. I go to high school. I'm blowing off a high school football game between two schools out here in Idaho that Idaho has offered two dudes from both of these schools to do this. Like, I'm the guy who does that, but not everybody out here does that. Yeah, and as Go Grizz pointed out, 35,000 students, and it has a $1.8 billion endowment. To put it in perspective, North Dakota State, for how much people throw them flack, whatever, they are a pretty solid academic institution. They have about 400, I think a little shy of 400 endowment, like 380, and they're one of the top FCS schools if you take out the Ivies and like a UC Davis type. They have more than like a Cal Poly. Like, that's how ridiculous this is. Like, Eastern Washington has gone up, but at one point, Eastern Washington, $18 million. Jacksonville State, we were talking about them. They're going to FBS. They had a $19 million endowment at one, like 3 years ago. $1.8 billion. UC Davis is cash. A lot of that obviously goes to academics, but if they wanted to, they could be a D1 institute. And then their competition, if they went G5, is Fresno State. What school do you think has more pull in the state of California? One that's part of the UC system, right outside the capital of Sacramento, or Fresno State? Like, if UC Davis wants it, they got it. So that's alignment in a nutshell, I think. Real quick. No, we hit the 49 mark. I'm cutting ourselves off. That's it. Are there any other, let's see, a lot of people just shitting on the Grizz or supporting the Grizz in the comments.
I want to shout this guy out. He almost got Nacogdoches spelled right correctly. It's a hard town. You were so close. Just left out the G in there. Just left out the G, but you're real close, man. I'm proud of you for that. That's really good. Really. I'm glad your son's in Nac. So.
Oh, actually, keep going.
and we've lost Chris. So now we've got a banter. So
is he taking off his shirt?
Oh, is he breaking out the SFA shirt?
What's it gonna be?
Oh, the Dempsey jersey. There it is. Nacogdoches' own Clint Dempsey.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Did not play soccer at SFA because SFA didn't offer men's soccer, so he played at Furman. But he is from Nacogdoches.
FU all day.
FU all day.
But now he's out there fishing in Nacogdoches. Kyler's working on my phonetical approach to that.
Had to correct him the other day.
It's even harder, and Will might know this. Is trying to spell Natchitoches in Louisiana. That's an even harder town to try to get right. And so,
okay, I want to talk about something that's kind of fun. God, this is once again only something that Kyle and I can probably touch on. But I was on the Ranch podcast radio show, whatever it is. They're working. They're new. It's McNeese State. For those of you that are interested, McNeese State has some stuff going right now. And they play Montana State. And I was telling him on his show, Montana is kind of like the Louisiana of the West. They legalize gambling. You can go in any bar. They usually got poker. There's a great bar in Missoula, Montana. We're not sponsored, but let's just put this way. Their hats say liquor in the front, poker in the back, because they have a bar up front and they have a poker room in the back.
Poker in the rear.
That was going to be
correctly.
Liquor in front, poker in the rear.
Yeah. So, I was telling him, like, I think people from Louisiana would love a trip up to Montana. Like, it's basically the Louisiana of the West. Am I off base on that, Kylor?
Way off.
You said something funny on one of our shows the other day where you're talking like Louisiana. What are you saying? West Virginia is like somebody from Montana and somebody from Louisiana had a baby.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
because we were doing an episode with Alex Boatman, who's working in fundraising for West Virginia. The university of, and he was talking about like going up to watch the Steelers down the road, and like all this just different accents just are in and around, West Pennsylvania and West Virginia, where it's just you got the Yinzes, you got the Moonshiners, you got the Hills. Like he's like, yeah, there's just different accents. We're talking about it's basically Louisiana and Montana had a baby.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
I will say this. I don't know if they do or not. I hope Montana State has a return game in Lake Charles, because if you haven't been to McNeese, I mean, granted, they've been rocked by hurricanes over the past couple of years, and it really, really messed up their campus. But McNeese has some of the best tailgating that you'll experience. And their fans,
I've heard Louisiana's terrible at tailgating. Not a one.
Not a single one. Especially LSU, they're worse. But no, I mean, I would say if you get a chance to go down to McNeese, go down and go do it. Have yourself a weekend like Charles. They'll take care of you, and then during the game, they'll hate you, and then after the game, they'll be like, "Hey, buddy, come have beer," and then you're,
Well,
speaking of buddies,
McNeese, Montana State's not going to McNeese, are they? It's the other way around.
I know if they had.
He's saying, but he's hoping it's a home and home.
I don't think so. Montana State won't do a home and home. Either will Montana.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Valley team, they want to just pay for teams.
The atmosphere down in Lake Charles is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, when we played down there in 2018, it was like half full and
still loud.
Yeah, crazy.
Fun fact: Idaho's most opponents in the playoffs, which laugh as you will, for old folks, they'll get it. We've been in the playoffs a handful of times. Is McNeese. We played McNeese like 4 or 5 times in the playoffs, twice in the semifinals, and lost
4 losses.
So,
good job.
Yeah, we've lost all 4 times. We've never beaten them. Yep. So, like, I was on that show, and he was like, yeah, you know where? I'm like, oh, I'm very familiar with McNeese. This is the 2023 schedule. They do not. Montana State is at Dixie State, home against Utah Tech. Jesus, Bobcats, update your freaking rock. They're at South Dakota State. That will be a game.
What day is that? I might have to.
And then they host Stetson.
Yeah, they're not traveling to the South. Yeah. They don't need to.
True, but yeah.
They're not Eastern. They're not Idaho. We'll go anywhere.
If you have any last-minute comments there, listeners, we're getting up on about the almost done mark, so throw them in the old comment section. Otherwise, we're going to move into kind of really quickly previewing the Week 0 games, and we're going to get out of here and let you guys go enjoy your Fridays. But any takeaways Week 0 before we start previewing games from you guys? Sorry, we're a little rusty. I haven't hosted one of these in 360 days. 280-ish. About 90 days.
No, just let's preview, buddy.
Yes, that's not previewing.
All right, let's preview. We got Austin P at noon. I don't know what times these are. It's Sports Illustrated.
It's noon Eastern, so it's 11. So it's
Western
11 Central.
Kentucky.
Did we see what the spreads are? Let me look on my bookie.
You get spreads. I'll run through.
Shout out to my bookie. They want to sponsor us.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe. We might be working with a company here to be announced shortly. But if they don't, hold off your deposits. You don't want to bet week 0. Week 1, we'll have an answer for you on who you should have as your preferred sports book.
Oh, man. A plus 960 for Austin P.
On the money line?
Yeah.
What's the spread?
What's the spread? 28.
Spread is 17.
Ooh.
Spread 17 and
The
it's
spread's
plus.
17.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I mean, I'm dropping $1 on that. That will pay half my losses.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. The Govs against the Hilltoppers. New coach, Austin P. Or no, new coach at ETSU. My bad. My apologies. Holy crap, that's real.
No,
bad.
Austin P's just new conference.
New conference.
New conference.
What are our odds here? Like, what do we think in Govs versus Western Kentucky?
I don't know. 17 points, man. That's a lot closer. I think when Will and I and Brandon Owens talked about it on the WAC Sun Weekly shop and advertise in our podcast. But I said that I thought they would keep it close, but not break. I thought the spread was higher. 17 points, man. That's
just on my bookie. Another site could be.
Yeah, it's very true.
I
mean, Austin P. I think you're going to see Austin P. this year come in and fight to be that third team out of the WAC Sun to try to get in the playoffs. They've got. I don't know. I don't think they'll do it because I think EKU will get in their way. I think they give Western Kentucky a game. I don't know if they'll beat them, but I think it'll be decently close.
Also, if anybody does know a really good book for the FCS, don't be shy. Comment, DM us something. We've been looking. My biggest complaint is my bookie, in my opinion, is the best because at the moment, we'll see. Because they at least do have spreads for every game, but they don't post them till like Friday at 11 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah,
so,
Western Kentucky was solid last year, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they win Conference USA or something? Pretty close. Yeah. I don't think this is going to be a close competitive game. I don't have a lot of faith in the Governors. Just saying it. Give me Western Kentucky by 30.
Western Kentucky did win the CUSA last year.
Yep.
I don't think
they even beat App State in the Boca Raton Bowl.
I just don't think Austin Peay is going to be good enough to hang with a good FBS, like even a good G5 team. And so,
actually looking at this, it's a bowl game, but whatever, I'm going to use it. What was the spread you said? 17.5?
Yeah, I'm hitting Western Kentucky more than
Western Kentucky beat App State by 21 last year.
They beat UT Martin by like 40.
50 points.
Yeah.
They won 59-38 against App.
Yeah. I mean,
and then you are right. They played UT Martin last year and won 59-21. And last year's UT Martin team is better than this year's Austin Peay team.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll
I would be smashing the Hilltoppers to get over that hill. What's the over/under, Kylor?
34.5.
Take the over.
No, over.
Yeah.
Take the over.
What? That's where you're going to make your money. Western Kentucky only scored just them under 34 points once last year, and it was a 33-31 loss to Indiana. And that game hit 64.
Where does that, I don't know who's setting that.
I know it's a different team. I know that. But they got the Houston Baptist coach went there, correct? And Bailey Zappi.
And Bailey Zappi was there, yeah.
So maybe they'll have a little Bailey Zappi hangover.
Well, I just bet $10 on it, so there we go.
I need to get my crypto going. I actually ran out. I played with all my winnings that were left from March Madness, and I'm out of them. And if I lose this weekend, it takes about a week to clear. So next game, we're all taking Western Kentucky to win. Let's do this. Kylor and I did this in our Big Sky previews. Percentage chance Austin Peay can win this.
0.0025.
We're saying there's a chance, right?
No, I'm not.
Nah, 1.
Yeah, give me a 0.25.
I'll give him a 0.5%.
I'll give him a whole 5% because, I mean, that's still not a good chance, but like, I don't know.
That makes you feel better about yourself?
Yeah.
You're the optimist.
So next week, Will on the podcast can say, man, I gave them a shot at winning.
Yeah. It was close.
We're not going to waste a ton of time talking about this, but I do want to touch on just because it is, I guess, not socially, with it, pop culture wise, it's relevant. Nebraska versus Northwestern in Ireland. How weird is that matchup?
Why would they pick two teams that Ireland's never? They can't even pinpoint where Nebraska is,
Or
and they've never heard of
Northwestern is.
Northwestern.
They probably think Northwestern is UW.
They've heard of Northwestern. There's enough Irish in Chicago. They know who Northwestern is.
They know Notre Dame.
I'm surprised it's not Notre Dame.
That's a good point, Dustin. I didn't think about that. Northwestern is kind of, I know Illinois. Champagne's actually not that close to Chicago.
The Irish don't go to Northwestern.
Northwestern's in Evanston. They're in Evanston. Yeah, they're right outside of downtown Chicago. So
yeah, they're a suburb of Chicago.
They're a suburb of Chicago.
Champaign is like 2 hours, hour and a half.
My Irish people,
Irish
people, because I can say it because I'm pretty much full Irish. We go to schools like Eastern, Central Arkansas, Stephen F. Austin, Idaho. We don't go to Northwestern. It's a little bit too good for us.
Yeah, we didn't have the academic.
There are only two schools that should play. Three schools that should play in Ireland.
Boston College,
Notre Dame, and
Alabama, just because everyone in the world knows who Alabama is.
No. It's Montana Tech in Butte, Montana.
No.
Oh, Montana Tech, yeah.
For those of you that are unaware, Montana's Tech, still to this day, not Montana Tech, but the city of Butte, Montana, has the most Irish people per capita, and at one point had the most Irish people west of the Mississippi in the entire United States.
Yep.
Yeah. For those of you that have never been, they have a whole,
one whole family.
Little Ireland is just downtown Butte. Their St. Patrick's Day is wild. Wild.
7 buildings, 3 families.
Hey, you know what? You'll have to go. You'll have to figure out if I'm right or Kylor's right. You'll just have to go. But I would say Montana Tech, obviously nobody wants to watch it. But I'm just saying, Montana Tech, if you were in a school to go, NAIA, Montana Tech from the Rocky Mountain Conference. Good poll, because there is a shark ton of Irish people in the Berkeley Pitt metropolitan area. But let's put it this way. Put on your not FCS hat, your average fan hat. You got Austin P at Western. No, never mind. That's dumb. Say Austin P at Western Kentucky or Nebraska at Northwestern. The average fan's going to watch Nebraska at Northwestern because they're basically competing. The Ireland game's kicking off 30 minutes after the Austin P game.
Yeah.
So I'll have both on. I'm definitely going to have I'll probably have the volume on of Nebraska Northwestern. That actually kills me. But just because it's Ireland, it's special. Thoughts? Takes? Nothing? Okay.
Did you see that apparently in Ireland, the new drivers put a red N on their car to say novice, and it looks just like the N on the Nebraska helmet.
Yeah.
And they're like, all the Nebraska fans are going to get there and be like, holy cow, we have a fan base here.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the novice sticker.
Yeah.
And so
that's why they're going.
Which, to be fair, Nebraska and novice, I mean,
they're going to get in their Uber and see a car, and they're like, wow, Nebraska, and the driver's going to be like, oh, lad, that's a new driver.
They love us here.
I don't know if I trust a bunch of Nebraska drivers driving on the left side Ireland's actually drives on the right side of the road, I believe.
They drive on the left side of the road.
No, I think the UK does. I think Ireland.
No, Ireland. No, I promise you.
Promise? Deal.
I was just there.
I was 60% confident in my answer. Idaho State is traveling to UNLV. We covered it to top the show. Kylor, I want your take on this. As the team you represent, the fan base has most recently faced UNLV.
UNLV stinks. Eastern, when they played, so much more talented across the board. We were doing whatever we wanted offensively. And then, we were making a lot of mistakes to just keep them in. But there was one time we were up by 21, then missed 3 field goals in a row and missed some punts to where they had the ball on the 20-yard line instantly. But that being said, we looked at Idaho State's roster. There's no chance. There's no chance. And UNLV is such a bad program. But yeah, give me UNLV by whatever they want. They're going to cover.
You think they covered 20? Was it 24 and a half? Is that?
I don't think they covered 24 and a half. But
that's no, it's moved down.
26.
It started at 24 and a half. It's down to 21 and a half. No, it started at 28. Now it's 26.
It says 26 and a half. So
yeah, it was 28. It's moved down 2 points just today.
I don't think you guys have watched Idaho State football in a while.
It's the last game I watched, damn it. What are you
UNLV
talking
was
about?
UNLV
It's the
was
last game I watched.
not you, but UNLV was very close with a lot of top-tier Mountain West teams. They were in close battles all last year outside of San Diego State. Like they lost to Wyoming by a touchdown. They lost to half of the Mountain West. Where Idaho State, outside of beating UC Davis, got just shellacked by bad teams. So, yeah, I don't think Idaho State has a chance.
Dustin, what do you think? Bengals got a shot?
No, they don't have a shot to win. They might have
Cover?
a shot they might have a shot to cover, but they're not going to win. Like it's not going to be close. I mean, if I would put a percentage on them covering, I'd say maybe 10% covering the spread. But
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
See, I'm a little more confident in the covering, but I don't know. I guess I'm like, I don't watch very many UNLV games, and I just think they suck.
You're just trying to hype them up because don't they play UCA this year?
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, no, Idaho State's super good, man.
Yeah, they're gonna win it. They're a top tier FCS team in my opinion.
Are you making the Pocatello?
No.
I don't think so. I think I have
Okay.
a test of the day.
I was like, if you came, I might actually make that road trip and then just dodge the Idaho one.
I'd love to.
Idaho's gonna lose in the Pocatello, but trust me, you wouldn't. But I'm a little bit higher on ISU too. I don't think they're gonna win, but I did put money on the spread at 28.5. So not a lot. I put $5 on it, but I just wanted to be involved on every FCS game. It's like you get that itch, right? You're like, every FCS game I'm putting money on. Week 0, let's go. But I won't be shocked if I'm totally off. I do believe I have this conflict of interest. I believe Araujo is actually building something at UNLV. I think he was a great hire for that program. And as Kylor touched on, they did end the year a lot better than they started it. They got Oregon backing. Nike just gave it I think Nike has slowly realized that might be the G5 they were going to back. Now maybe Araujo is not there, but I think the Bengals could be frisky in this. And I don't know. Did either of you guys listen to the Up North podcast with Kylor and I previewing Idaho State?
I did. I watched the whole thing.
I did too.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys. And this won't be a shock, but to the other people, Kylor, what was their average freshman lineman? 6'5", 310?
6'6", 320.
Their entire offensive line is they had 2 seniors and everybody else is a freshman or sophomore. All 6 foot plus, all 6'4" plus 300 pounds. So the team in 5 years, maybe they are frisky. But next game on the old docket here. Although here we go, just Hunter Welcher wants to chime in. 26 is a lot of points, especially when you're talking early year garbage time. Next FCS game we have UConn. I'm just kidding. Duquesne at Florida State. This one's kind of frisky because Florida State not played well against the FCS in the last, Taggart and now Norvell era. But Duquesne, actually Duquesne's not a bad NEC team. Kylor?
No, they have no shot.
Is the spread even released on this?
Yeah, it was 44.5.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, not really, but yeah.
I think Florida State could probably cover.
You think Florida State's improved that much in 1 year?
I think Duquesne's not good.
Let's be honest. There's even with Jackson State
didn't Florida State go 2-10 last year?
Yeah, they lost to Jacksonville State.
Yeah, but Jacksonville State.
Right, that was a pretty bad for Jacksonville State standards. Jacksonville State team.
But that bad Jacksonville State team last year would beat Duquesne by at least 28.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just think about the
that bad Jacksonville State team won against Florida State, and Florida State's getting 44.
Florida State should be better than they were last year.
Well, and think about the athletes that are going to be on the field. If we were talking, North Dakota State and Florida State, the athletes, at least there's some similarity, but good Lord, the athletes are just different at Duquesne than they are at Florida State.
Yeah, that's that. I zero chance of Duquesne winning, and honestly, 5% chance of them hitting the spread.
God, I would love it. I'm rooting for that game.
I would love it. I want to bet on Duquesne for the spread, but I don't think they're going to hit it. I think it's going to be one of those 59-3 games that is one of those where the fans are leaving at halftime sort of game.
Mm-hmm.
While we're on the Florida State topic, let's bring in Jackson State real quick. How many years till Neon Dion's at Florida State?
I don't know. I actually think he might ride it out for a little while.
Okay, because that's where I was at, and I just didn't know if I was crazy or if I honestly think he might do it. He's a prideful guy.
He doesn't
I
need the
honestly
money.
see him literally letting them offer him, and then literally turning it down just to be like,
Told you I'm not leaving.
Because he almost the only reason, not the only reason, but one of the main reasons I think he's at Jackson State was he was very interested when they hired Norvell. And they did not give him the job. That's why Hunter freaking decommitted. He is out there to literally ruin his number one mission in life. Their first FBS scheduled game, I think, big one, will be against Florida State, and he wants to win that game. I think he won't leave until he has a chance to beat Florida State with Jackson State.
I don't know on that.
I don't know on that either. I think.
You think Florida State would even schedule it?
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they'd be dumb. I mean, even if he was we'll play for free. He would actually, that's what he wants. And they'll still be well, no, that doesn't make sense. And then he wants to put that in the headlines. They won't even play us if we come play them for free.
No, Florida State would schedule the team across the street before they scheduled Jackson State. So,
especially if they can't get kids on the bus because they don't understand how eligibility works. I hope Idaho schedules Florida A&M next year. Jesus. Speaking of Florida A&M, next game on the docket, Florida A&M at North Carolina.
North Carolina by 60.
Yeah.
I've already, like I said, I tripled down my money. I spent all the money I had left in my wallet balance I was saving for week one to try to make up the money I was going to lose on Florida State to begin with. But I do want to hear from Kylor because Kylor told me I was an idiot to begin with the 36-point spread.
Yeah, I mean, Southeastern Louisiana could have beat them by 36 with their first and second stringers. I don't, mean to seem rude, but Southeastern Louisiana literally had one of the worst defenses in the FCS. They scored 0 points against their first and second stringers.
Yeah.
I have no confidence in them going against North Carolina, who wasn't great last year. They're still a bowl team.
6 and 7, right?
Yeah, give me North Carolina even before 40 people didn't show up. Now really give me North Carolina.
They could name their scorer. But
yeah.
here's the thing. I don't know that they will, because if they catch wind of this, if Mac Brown really wants to play some guys in the second quarter that haven't played since the first week of fall camp, he could. And I don't know.
Still go win.
Yeah, and I think they could honestly save FAMU some face almost. If there ever was a situation where an FBS team was going to do that for somebody, this is kind of it.
Yeah.
Not only are we better than you, they're playing with half their team. I mean, it's a bad situation.
It's horrible.
It is.
So, I don't know. If they don't cover, it'll be because they didn't want to.
Yeah, that's really it. It's going to be Mac Brown's going to say, all right, guys, just go out there and kneel the second half, basically.
It's because they bet $1 million on the under. That's the only reason.
My high school was really, really bad at football when I was a kid, and West Memphis would come to town, and they would punt on second down in the second half if they didn't get a first down. So maybe we see that happen tomorrow.
That's so great.
So anyway,
I don't know what that means, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin, that's classic.
Is that an insult or a compliment?
Go watch Gilligan's Island and you'll understand.
Oh, okay. All right. I know. That's it, right, everybody?
That's
we're out of here?
That's it. There's no other games.
No, because we have FCS versus FCS games week 0, like it's supposed to be. Morehead State at Mercer. I know I'm skipping, but because that's the biggest game. So they get last. Morehead at Mercer. The Bears.
Yep.
What do we think here? No spread on that yet. It's not 11 o'clock Pacific time. I'd almost guarantee it.
I'll take Mercer.
Kyler on the MyBookie app. Far right should be FCS.
Mercer is... This can't be right. It says, it makes sense, but Morehead is a plus 970, but only a 17-point dog.
So basically bet $1, get $10, essentially.
On Morehead.
And change.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't think Morehead. Actually, out of every game we've talked about that's even remotely I like ISU over UNLV more than I like Morehead over Mercer.
Yeah, I think Mercer is going to win that one easily. So
I'm betting 5 on the over because it's only 30, 34?
I would take the over.
30. 31, yeah.
I would take that over.
I'm betting. Cool.
Wait, the over is 30? Jesus. All right, I need to.
My
How
bookie
quick
does
did
not
Bitcoin
know
clear my
FCS,
account?
man.
Does anybody know somebody that'll actually grant you Bitcoin like day one?
Honestly, though, this could be a
Coinbase
31
gives
to
it
0.
to me in like 7 days, and I need
This-
more.
This could be a 31 to 0 game anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually.
It's going to be one of those that ends at halftime.
This is actually a sneaky good one. You've got a neutral site game, Howard versus Alabama State in Georgia.
Yeah,
Now,
it says
it said that the Mercedes-Benz, or is this going to be played at Georgia State's retrofitted, what was it, Sun America Park, whatever?
It says Alabama is a 3.5 point favorite. It doesn't have the money line yet. I'll go Alabama State.
Yeah, I'm taking Alabama State as well.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, it's Alabama State, I think. So I mean, that's going to be. I mean, when you look at SWAC MEAC, I mean, it's SWAC. That's what it is. Alabama State's got a pretty decent team. Yeah, I would easily take it. If it's 3.5, that just means they haven't put anything on there, like, because it's neutral site. They basically made it a pick 'em, and it shouldn't be a pick 'em.
Mm-hmm.
It should be Alabama State by like plus 10, plus 14, somewhere in there.
Agree.
It's going to make me unpopular regardless. I have to ask. Cam Newton, Howard, or Hampton?
I think Howard.
I think
Yeah, Howard. Yeah.
Good, because I'm picking Howard. Alabama State, nicest stadium in the FCS. Fight me, every Montana fan ever.
I think so too.
Yeah, no, that stadium is
really
so sweet.
nice.
So there you go. If you're in Montana, then you're just wrong. Unless
There's a difference between atmosphere and just a nicer
Fact.
stadium.
It's a nice stadium, yeah.
Montana Stadium,
It's like
actually, when you're
UNLV
there,
has the nicest college football stadium.
yeah,
But
like
they don't have atmosphere.
Montana Stadium, if you're on the inside, it's actually not a nice stadium. It's very old and
It's starting
outdated.
to very show it's.
Is it just a concrete block,
It's
basically?
just a
They
concrete,
don't even
but
have
it's like
luxury seating
atmosphere,
anymore.
amazing, game experience, amazing, scenery, amazing, town, amazing.
Tailgating's great.
But the stadium, besides being good sized, isn't.
Yeah.
All
Which
that
is like the Fargo Dome. Great atmosphere inside, but like,
the dome.
sorry, NDSU fans, that is one of the ugliest. It's probably bottom 3 domes.
It's definitely better than any of the Idahos by a lot, but by a lot.
At least you can see if the field goal is good or not.
Whoa. This is a whole different argument.
The Kippy Dome looks like
That
a
has only
Geo
happened
Metro.
in the Big Sky. The
Geometric.
Sun Belt never had issues with understanding that there was a wall
Because
behind our
Sunbelt
goalpost.
kickers can't kick high.
Yeah. I like how you said it looked like a Geo Metro. That's better.
Yeah, the
than-
Kippy Dome
it's
looks like a
quantified.
Geo Metro.
Don't you insult our 2020 Defensive Player of the Year. The wall behind our goalpost, okay?
Kippy Dome's so ugly. I'm just kidding.
Better than Holt. I still think
Not
it's better
anymore.
than Fargo Dome and whatever the Luris.
The Luris is way
So,
nicer.
best domes in the FCS, and no particular order, just naming them. UNI, the Unidome, Walk Up, and Kibbe. Like,
Gosh,
Holt,
you haven't been to
Fargo and
Unidome.
Alaris are just behind.
No.
My opinion. Anywho, next game, the big game, we've got the FCS. It's not even Guardian anymore, is it? Just the FCS kickoff game? It's the FCS kickoff game. We've got the Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks playing the soon-to-be FBS Cox. Let's talk about this.
Cox of the FCS.
Does Jacksonville State have to change their mascot name just like South Dakota or South Carolina? Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Do you see what they voted?
The fan
Yeah.
votes Commander Cock.
Cock
Or
Commander.
Cock
The Cock
Commander.
Commander.
Yeah. Like I said, I was gonna make my Twitter handle Beat the Cox, so I didn't want the porn bots following me on Twitter. So I was like,
All of a sudden, Pornhub comes and sponsors. You know what? We'd say yes.
some
If
NIL
Pornhub
right
wants to
there.
sponsor. I mean, all jokes aside, all espionage aside, all legality issues for serious. aside. Should be a good game. Let's go around a little 1 minute each, and we'll get out of here. Kylor, what's your thoughts, takeaways, and who's going to win this god-darn FCS kickoff? Actually, before we do this, I want to go on my little rant. I know we have a Rev rant coming. The FCS kickoff, and I'm not saying week 0 as a whole needs to go back to being FCS. Like, as a guy who was at the FBS at the time, Montana versus North Dakota State was a big deal. I am telling you, as somebody who was a neutral at the time, yes, I'm fucking, oh, geez, sorry, whatever. I was aware of who both those schools were, and I, growing up in the Northwest, was aware of who Montana was. But I have friends who were not, and we all watched that game week 0. When you had that standalone game, that was a showcase, and this isn't a slight at SFA, and it's not a slight at even Jacksonville State. But when you had top-tier, nationally known programs playing week 0, that was a big deal. And I think that if ESPN wants to fix college football, first step is that's the way you could make FCS fans less angry at you on Twitter, is just give us that 1 week to shine. We have the playoffs when you guys have your little bowl buys. And the first week of the playoffs is during the military game. But it's like, man, that was special. And I know there was a big game between Eastern and Jacksonville State the year before, if I'm correct, right, Kylor? Was that the first one? I think you unplugged your mic. You're not talking at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So no, Eastern and Sam Houston State was the very first kickoff game.
Yeah.
It was at Eastern Washington. We did a home and home series with Stephen or Sam Houston. I keep wanting to say Stephen F. Austin because you're our hats, but they were both semifinal teams the year before. Top 2-3 programs. It was a big deal. It always looks better when you're at a home stadium than some away or whatever. But yeah, the FCS kickoff for the first few years was top tier FCS program versus top tier FCS program from different conferences, and they made it work.
And not even top tier. They were programs that people were aware of, and they drew national audiences. Like I said, like maybe I'm being a little regionally biased because it was Montana, and people out here for how much. Take off my Big Sky, we hate Montana hat for a second. People in the Northwest know who Montana is. If you ask Big Sky Conference, they'd be like, Montana. Like, that is the school that most Pac-12 Mountain West schools are aware of. Not even Montana State, not Eastern, not Idaho, not any, but it's Montana. And that game against NDSU, who when I was in college, obviously I had no idea who the hell NDSU was. I went to school from 2010 to 2014, but I found out who they were because they went on the win streak. I remember watching the game against, I believe it was Jacksonville State, and rooting for NDSU because I was like, I want to see a four-peat. How cool would that be? Like a four-peat dynasty. Like, I learned who North Dakota State was. That game was huge. And I would love to see if we could get back to that. Like, or if they're going to do it, do what they did like even 4 or 5 years ago where they had like Oregon State versus Hawaii at like noon, like some BS games before. But the night midday game, that 3 p.m. kickoff is an FCS showcase. I think that'd be awesome. And add 2 of them. Get an East and a West. Get a Big Sky WAC game and then get a Missouri Valley A-Sun game. And I think ESPN wants ratings. More people would care about that than North Texas actually, that's going to be a good game. But Nevada at New Mexico State or Vanderbilt at Hawaii, right? Like, I would love if we got that. But off my soapbox, anybody have any takes on that? And then we'll talk about the game. That's it. All right, Kylor.
You said it all.
Not Guardian. FCS kickoff game. Thoughts and pick.
Yeah, I'm rooting for SFA. Really hope that they pull it out. I bet on the Gamecocks. I just think
that spread is too tantalizing.
No, I bet on them because you know what? They beat them last year. I get SFA returns a lot of offense, a lot of defense. But Jacksonville State got to add some extra scholarships. They hit the transfer portal really hard with actually not just the bums who couldn't make it, but some people who got significant playing time. And then, they have a coach who's arguably proven himself for a majority of his career. So, yes, he had a couple slumps, but his win-loss record is his win-loss record. I think he's better than Gross. So, yeah, I bet on Jacksonville State, but I'm rooting for SFA.
We'll let Rev go last since he's actually involved. Will, you're an A-Sun guy, part of the Wax On Challenge. What are your thoughts and opinions on this game?
I think that SFA can absolutely win. I think, like Kyle said, they have a ton of talent. The only reason it scares me a little bit is if this game is close and is a fourth quarter matchup, and Jacksonville State can roll in some of the extra guys that they've got. You could see depth come into play a little bit. It's gonna be hot, which I mean I know they've both been practicing in the heat and whatnot, but still, depth comes into play when it's hot. And so I hope SFA wins. I'm picking SFA, but I think they need to jump out early and take advantage of Jacksonville State having a lot of new faces and maybe some chemistry issues, some timing issues that you just can't, create in a practice scenario. Take advantage of that, jump on them early, and that way it doesn't get into a depth issue in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, my take on this is I am excited to see it. I talked about it. I'd like to see more name brands. This isn't a shot at SFA or Jacksonville State. But like I said, nationally, I think both those programs are on the up. I'll see SFA about to probably be the most popular FCS program at the FCS level with Sam Houston leaving. I don't mean that as a shot. I mean it as like actuality. Jacksonville State being a program most people are aware of, or at least have had success, and people in Alabama in the Southeast are at least aware of. So in actuality, this is closer to what I was saying and getting like name brand matchups better than a couple of years ago. I don't even remember what the matchup was, but it wasn't great. And then I think SFA can win this game. I think they probably do win this game. I'm with Kylor. I took JSU in my bet because I think you can't underestimate the lack of scholarships. I know we talk about hashtag fear the FCS and FCS upsets all the time, but JSU, I don't think is going to fall into that trap of like I think still view themselves a little bit as an FCS squad, like they're having an identity crisis in this fact that like they know they're going FBS and they're all very excited for the most part about going FBS, but they all still understand that this is an FCS season that they're just not eligible for anything. Like they still want to win the A-Sun, they still want to be competitive, and I think they're going to utilize that extra bit of scholarships. I think Rich Rod is a good game planning coach. Other issues with him, but I think he'll be a guy who has that team ready. He'll have that team with a great game plan, which worries me because I just hope Stephen F. Austin. I was one of the only ones tooting their horn last year, and they exceeded on my expectations. They delivered on my promises. It made me look very, very smart. One of my few smart picks last year, saying Stephen F. Austin would finish as a top 20 program. I'm just worried with all this top 10 looks they let go to their head. They think they're better than JSU, who's not even eligible for the poll, and maybe sleep on it. Like I said, I think Stephen F. Austin wins with the drama that's gone on at JSU. But, yeah, I think this is a 1-point game. I took JSU on the money line to be candid, bet responsibly. But, yeah, I think JSU covers. What is it, Kylor, 4.5? 4.5. So, yeah, I think JSU covers. I think it's a 1, 2, 3-point game. But Stephen F. Austin, I think, wins.
It's moved up to a 6.
It's 6?
Stephen F. Austin,
I have not
favorite.
timed well today. Because I like 6. 6 is, in my opinion, automatic. But we'll pass the Rev. 6.5.
All right, so here's
do they win, and then also do your Rev rant, and then let's get the out of here.
Here's the thing about the game last year. Yes, SFA lost to Jacksonville State in the last 2 minutes of the game after being down 14-0 early in the first quarter off of 2 turnovers. One of them was a scoop and score on a fumble. SFA dominated every stat of that game last year, on top except for the score. If you go back and look, SFA completely dominated Jacksonville State on the field. Yes, Gross is gone, which was probably one of the best things that Jacksonville State could have happened to them. And Rich Rod is a great coach, but Rich Rod's book has been read by just about every other coach. He doesn't come in with something new where he coaches. He replicates what he did before. And it didn't work at Michigan and wasn't great at Arizona, right? So
better than someone.
Yeah, I mean, he did take Arizona back to a better spot than where they were. they made some bowls, but it wasn't. I don't know. Like
He
to
went to two
me,
Pac-12 championships with Arizona. Lost them both, but
yeah, lost them both. But I mean, to the point here is this: it's SFA did not lose anything last year. Jacksonville State lost every quarterback they had, with the exception of what's his face is still there, Zion, right? Like there's so much turnover, there's so much newness there that I don't I don't know. I just saw Kevin's comment. I don't know. Like it is hard coming in. You're game planning against something new. I think it will be close. I think SFA has best quarterback wide receiver combo in FCS right now, and that's not me being an SFA homer. It's just you look at the stats. Xavier Gibson is the current active FCS yards leader right now. And Trey Self has grown as a quarterback. They bring it. SFA has a lot of great defensive players. And like I said, they haven't really lost anything on their team. I would like to see, I would like, given the current, the way the week's been and the way Rich Rod has been with this stupid Spygate thing, I'd like to see SFA win by 55. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even know if they beat them by 6, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a close game, a field goal, 4-point game somewhere in there. I mean, I don't know. A couple, I know this kind of went on a rant, but one, I hate that this is a game in Alabama. No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a home game.
Sit down
and shut up. Schedule?
Yeah, like it's a home game for us that we're giving up from playing in the Crafton Bowl or Crampton Bowl or whatever dump of a stadium they have in Montgomery.
It got renovated, didn't it?
It's yeah, I mean, it's still not great looking. Anyway, but here's the thing. Here's my question: if SFA wins, does this count as an FBS win? Because Jacksonville State's playing for more scholars. They're playing with more scholarships than FCS, though. I know they're doing an FCS schedule, but they're playing with extra things. And then to that point too, if you factor in the extra scholarships, if SFA loses, does it count as an FCS loss? There's been debate back and forth about that. SFA though has to win this game because with the scheduling issues with Incarnate Word going back to the Southland or not even going back, they just stayed in the Southland with Lamar going back to the Southland. SFA doesn't have enough counters this year for playoffs if they lose these games against Jacksonville State, Louisiana Tech, and Sam Houston. They would only have five wins, 5 games, because Utah Tech's transitioning, Tarleton is transitioning, and then we're playing Acme University at some point for the game that we lost against Lamar on September 24th. I think it's Warner University or something.
Those ones still count as at least as FCS wins, Tarleton and Dixie.
Dude, that's good because that's my concern is that there's not enough stuff there. So SFA has to come in. I'm going to ignore what TND says because their logo ripped off South Carolina. So the point with this is that I don't, we're talking about them being ranked top 10. If I know Kobe Carthel hasn't looked at that all week. Kobe Carthel doesn't care. His focus is to win, and he doesn't want his players losing sight of that. I think it'll be a good game. I think I hope everybody tunes in and watches. If Jacksonville State wins, that's great. If Jacksonville State loses, I'm sure Rich Rod he already has his excuses lined up for his loss. So
I agree.
So I know I said we're going to get out of here, but you brought up some points that I think are interesting. It's week 0. We're peaking. We have 24 concurrent watchers at the moment. If people want us to leave, they'll start leaving. Should SFA and JSU, this is controversy. We're not doing it in our broadcast media poll, which if you haven't heard, check it out. And Craigers ain't doing it in the stats poll. Should JSU and Sam Houston be ranked? My point to this, I know the popular opinion is no. So I'll do the devil's advocate here. We do have teams like Stephen F. Austin that are playing them. And to Rev's point, they're not going to count as an FBS game. So doesn't it benefit them to have a ranking? So if they do win or if they do lose, either way, they have a ranking to point at. If we lost to number 8 JSU or we beat number 14 JSU, whatever it may be, that's where they're not eligible for the playoffs, which in our system, the ranking doesn't mean jack towards the playoffs anyways. That's where, in my opinion, I've thought that JSU and Sam Houston should be ranked because they're playing an FCS schedule. In my opinion, this falls back on how we view the Ivies, or how people should be consistent in how they view the Ivies and the HBCUs. And if you rank them, it's the same scenario. Yes, they have more scholarships at the moment, but technically the Ivy League has 0 scholarships. This is they play an FCS schedule. You are going to have to play them. Therefore, they should have a ranking. So when the playoff committee comes around, you can say you have a top 25 FCS win. Because if Sam Houston does win this or lose this, that kind of sucks, because what is it? It's not going to be counted as an FBS loss. It's 100% going to be counted against them come November. If they lose to Jacksonville State, it will be counted against them, unlike had they played Auburn or Troy.
I'll say this and then I got to dip, but the committee is still going to understand that Jacksonville State and Sam Houston are good teams, especially Sam Houston. I think the whole committee knows that if Sam Houston wins 9-10 games this year, but somebody beats them, say SFA beats them at the Battle of the Piney Woods, they're not going to be like, oh, sorry, it wasn't a ranked win, that doesn't count. They're still going to understand that's a top 10, caliber team at this level. And so while yes, it's not an FBS win, I don't know if they have some sort of computer thing where they, put weights for certain games in, but either way, when they come down to the eye test, the committee's not stupid. Like, they're going to look at it and be like, hey, they beat Sam Houston, they beat Jacksonville State. Those are good wins. And if they lose to them the same way, they're going to say, hey, that was a good team that they lost to. And so I don't think you have to rank them to count it as a good win or a good loss.
Yeah, and this is better for Stephen F. Austin anyway, because Jacksonville State wasn't going to be ranked. And we know from the committee, they look at wins and losses at the time the team was ranked, not at the end of the season. So JSU would have not been ranked, and if they beat SFA, that doesn't play well for SFA. At least if, they're not ranked, then they could just say, well, they were never ranked, but they couldn't be ranked, and now there's no excuse in SFA's favor. But no, you're playing with extra scholarships. You're transitioning. It is what it is.
All right, well, I think Will Siler is signaling us that we need to get the F out of here. He's already out of here.
Yep.
Boys, week 0. How excited are you that football's back?
Huck and chuck at football.
Huck and chuck at football. As Sam Herder says, tackle football fans. We're back, baby. Week 0. We will be here every Friday. Let us know what time is preferable. Obviously, we want to cater to everybody, which is why we picked this time, 5:30 Pacific. But 8:30 Eastern sounds a little rough. If, nobody's tuning in from the Pacific, we'll move it forward a little bit for the Eastern folks. But comment below what time you would guarantee tune into this show, and we'll try to make adjustments to make sure we have the most people watching this as possible. I might host. There might be other hosts. I got games to go to. But every week, we are committed to being here on Friday night to give you basically a college game day experience. But we also understand you're never going to tune into us over college game day on a Saturday morning. So we're here Friday night. Grab drinks with us and have a good time, and we'll talk some FCS. Always hit us up in the comment section. And I guess, that's it. We out. We out.